Hello and welcome to another HanDrinksSolo wine info video where today we are talking about the Wildeberg Coterie Chenin Blanc Grenache Blend 2021. In this video, I want to do three things. First, I want to talk a little bit about the Wildeberg winemaking team and what they get up to in Franschhoek. Secondly, I want to talk a little bit about what this wine tastes and smells like in the glass. And finally, for those that have the stomach for it, I want to go into a little more detail around why Chenin Blanc and Grenache Blanc are a match made in heaven and a blend to watch in the future. Now, the Wildeberg farm is about an hour east of Cape Town, and it is almost ludicrously picturesque, absolutely beautiful, set up against the mountains in Franschhoek. And of course, this idyllic setting does nothing to hurt the narrative that Wildeberg are a small creative team of winemakers who take great joy in producing wines with a minimal intervention ethos that really reflect the beauty of the vineyards from which they come. Of course, the irony in all this is that most of the really fascinating wines that are made by the Wildeberg team use fruit from vineyards dotted all over the South African winelands, wherever they can find really interesting cultivars or delicious old vine or particularly high altitude sites. So in essence, the Wildeberg team actually operate as a sort of hunter-gatherer wine outfit that go out into the winelands, find amazing fruit, and then bring it back to vinify in their idyllic little mountain wine cellar. Moving from their cellar into our glass, the wine that we're drinking today is a blend of Chenin Blanc and Grenache Blanc. Now, the Chenin Blanc is old vine Chenin from Franschhoek, whereas the Grenache Blanc comes from Paarl. Now, as we've discussed in other videos, these two regions are only about 30 kilometers apart, but as you can see on the map, there's loads of geological drama in between these two zones. But you might say, enough about the landscape, Han. Let's see what it smells like. Up front, you might be forgiven for thinking this was all Chenin. There are all those classic hallmarks of South African Chenin Blanc, which is quite fresh, peach fruit, some apricot, and then there's a kind of gravel dust, which is lovely. A hint of saltiness too in there, kind of a sea spray, and also even some white grapefruit. But as we dig a little deeper into that citrus element, it gives us hints that perhaps there could be other cultivars in here, because I'm also smelling some slightly riper citrus, maybe mandarin, nachi, and also some lime. So let's move on, take a sip, and see what it has to offer. Well, I said the aroma was dominated by Chenin Blanc, but really on the palate, this is where your Grenache Blanc starts to speak quite loudly. As is the case with the aromas, the Chenin elements are there. There's stone fruit and definitely a bit of white grapefruit, but in the middle is this rich, ripe citrus element of mandarin, nachi, lime, and to me, this is classic Grenache Blanc. And the texture on the mouthfeel is also nice and full and concentrated. This is partially from old vine Chenin, but perhaps also because Grenache Blanc as a cultivar sometimes develops slightly higher alcohol levels, and that alcohol can contribute to a silky, richer mouthfeel. For those who have the stones, pour yourself another glass and I'll tell you exactly why these two cultivars are so well suited. Chenin Blanc is a little bit like CLINT Eastwood. In its youth, it's a little more expressive, a little more explosive. It's all about bar brawls and dropping one-liners and shooting guys off horses. But then, as a Chenin Blanc vine gets to age, it becomes a little more introspective and philosophical. As they age, both Chenin Blanc vines and CLINT Eastwood seem to deliver more contemplative, concentrated content. Now, the Chenin Blanc component in this Coterie wine is over 50 years old. It was planted in 1962. Fruit from these old vines manages to be complex and ripe and rich while also having really impressive, zingy natural acidity. Grenache Blanc, on the other hand, is a cultivar that perhaps doesn't preserve its acidity as well, but it manages to deliver big, rich, ripe elements of citrus. So you have this whole thick and thin, laurel and hardy thing going on, where the rich, round, rotund Grenache Blanc manages to fit perfectly, especially when it comes to blending with older vine Chenin. And there is one more reason why Chenin Blanc and Grenache Blanc blends are a thing of the future. Not only do they fit together really well from a sensory perspective, but they have also both proven themselves as cultivars to be grapes that can survive in hot, dry climates. And if you look at the climate prediction for the Cape Winelands over the next couple of decades, our temperatures are probably going to climb a little bit and our rainfall is definitely on the decline. Which means that in the future, delicate cultivars like Sauvignon Blanc may start to flounder, which is why it's great news that a lot of South African farmers are beginning to understand the necessity to plant these more hardy cultivars. So that's all we have time for today, but If you enjoyed this video and you love learning about unusual cultivars, viticulture, unusual wine growing regions, and some of the rising winemaking stars coming out of the South African winelands, then why not subscribe to the HanDrinksSolo YouTube channel, where I publish at least 6 videos every single month. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to drop them in the comment section, and I will do my best to get back to you.